In the village of Emakunda, there was an ancient and sacred law. A wife who slept with another man who is not her husband would bring instant death upon her husband. It was an abomination, a taboo so severe that it was ingrained in every female child from a young age, not to betray their future husband. Elders would tell terrifying tales of past transgressors, of men who had withered and died in agony because their wives had betrayed them. Nafula was known for her beauty. The daughter of a great healer, she had been married off to Omukama, a successful hunter, who was much older than she. Though her husband provided for her well, there was a distance between them. Omukama was a man of action, one who spoke little and loved even less, as that was his nature. He was rarely home, often away on hunting trips that could last for weeks, because in his mind he resigned. My wife is very beautiful. I need to provide for her, so she doesn't look at another man. Luvinda, on the other hand, was a farmer whose strength was known across the village. His back was broad from years of toiling the land, his hands rough from pulling yams from the earth. He was married to Nasike, a woman who had borne him 4 children, but with every child, Nasike's interest in him dwindled. She became more of a mother and less of a wife, her love reserved for her children, her hands always busy with work. Luvinda would sit at the front of his hut every evening, watching the women of the village pass to fetch water. He would watch as their waist swayed from side to side and fantasize of how he would sleep with them in different positions. If only they would agree to sleep with me, he would reason in his heart. But this stupid tradition would not allow them. If not, how? I would have enjoyed all this woman's waist chail. All was game till he set his eyes on Nafula. In fact, he targeted her. Nafula had gone to fetch water, and as she bent to fill her calabash, she saw Luvinda standing at the other side of the bank. He was washing his arms, his muscles taut, the sun shining on his skin. She found herself staring, admiring his strength, his confidence. When he looked up and caught her gaze, she quickly looked away. Luvinda, sensing an opportunity, began his pursuit. At first he offered small gestures, a casual greeting, "I'll smile." Then he started bringing her gifts, a fresh mango, a carved wooden comb, small trinkets that made her feel seen in a way she had not felt in years. Nafula resisted at first, knowing the danger in from of her, but while the children were eating under the moonlight lamp, she spoke in her heart of how dangerous it will be to sleep with another man. But Luvinda was relentless. His attention was intoxicating, and soon she found herself drawn to him despite her better judgment. Meanwhile, Omukama began to notice subtle changes in his wife. She had once been warm toward him, but now she was distant. When he reached for her at night, she would turn away, claiming exhaustion, headaches, or the demands of the household. At first, he dismissed it. Perhaps she was simply tired, as women often were. But as the days passed, his suspicion grew. One evening, as he sat by the fire sharpening his hunting spear, he confided in his friend Barasa. "I do not understand Nafula anymore," he muttered. "She was once warm, but now she is hot and cold. It is as if she is not the same woman I married." Barasa leaned forward, his eyes dark with knowing. "That is how it starts, my friend. Women, when they seek another man, they lose their fire for their husband." Omukama frowned. "No, Nafula would never. She knows the laws. She knows it's a death sentence for me. She knows the disgrace it would bring, and she knows that it would lead to my instant death. I provide everything for her, so she wouldn't betray me like that." Barasa chuckled, shaking his head. "Ah, Omukama, A man who trusts too much is a man already betrayed. I am not saying she has done anything, but listen, better to be safe than sorry. You know it is an abomination for a man to sleep with a woman who has already lain with another, and death will follow. Such men bring curses upon themselves. There is no harm in protecting yourself. And besides, before men couldn't protect themselves, but now they can. Haven't you heard of that medicine from the ancestors that can prevent such act? That if the woman sleeps with another man, she will be locked and the curse will be on her head. Omukama sighed. Finally, for too long, we men have suffered from the betrayer of our wives, but rubbing his temples. He did not want to believe it. He was convinced that something else was troubling his wife. But Barasa's words lingered. He had seen too many men humiliated by unfaithful wives. He could not afford to be one of them. Against his better judgment, he asked, "Where do I get it?" His friends smiled and told him everything. The next morning he sought the help of an elder who understood the ways of the ancestors. He performed a ritual, one that would bind any man who dared touch his wife, trapping them in their act of betrayal. Omukama did not truly believe it would be needed. He trusted Nafula. He only did it to silence Barasa, to prove to him all is well. His wife was still faithful. That night, after using the medicine to rub his manhood, he slept with his wife, locking her to him. For eternity days passed, and chance meetings between Nafula and Luvinda became deliberate encounters. A touch here, a whisper there. Nafula felt something stir within her that had long been dormant. Luvinda, too, found himself drawn to her in a way he had never felt before. Their attraction was dangerous, but desire has a way of dismissing danger. One evening, as Nafula fetched water from the river, Luvinda approached her. "Why do you always look at me like that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because you are like the rain before the storm. I can feel you before you arrive," he replies, her breath caught. "And if the storm comes," his voice was barely above a whisper, "then let it wash me away. I want you," he added, taking a step closer, his voice low. "It'll give you something you have never experienced with your husband before." "And what is that?" she asked. "Wicked hot sex." His fingers brushed against hers, lingering just long enough to send a shiver up her spine. "Then take me," she murmured. "But not now. My husband is traveling in 3 days. I'll send words to you." Then came the faithful night Omukama had left for a 3-day hunting trip, and Nafula knew she would not sleep alone that night. She sent word to Luvinda through a village boy, telling him to meet her at an abandoned hut deep in the forest. It was a place once used by hunters, but now forgotten, hidden among thick trees and silence. Luvinda arrived after nightfall, his heart pounding. Inside the hut, the air was thick with the scent of earth and forbidden desire. Nafula stood in the dim light of an oil lamp, her wrap barely clinging to her shoulders. "No one must know," she whispered as he pulled her into his arms. "By this, I am condemning my husband to death. You know the law." "No one will," he promised. "And besides, how can he not appreciate you? I'll appreciate you forever, and I'll take care of you." "How about your wife?" she asked. "We will also get rid of her," Luvinda said. "Enough talk." He pulled her close, his lips capturing hers in a kiss that sent fire through their veins. Clothes were discarded, bodies intertwined, but as their passion reached its peak, he gilded his manhood inside her and a sudden force gripped them. It was as if invisible hands had locked them together. They gasped, trying to pull apart, but something held them in place. "Something is wrong," Luvinda said, fear in his voice. "Why can't I pull out, try harder?" Nafula encouraged. As he tries harder to pull back, She screamed from the pain she experienced and burst into tears. A young herdsboy passing nearby heard the chilling sounds and ran toward the village, shouting, "Something is in the hunter's hut! Something terrible!" Villagers grabbed their torches and weapons, rushing through the dark forest. The elders led the way, their faces grim. When they reached the hut, the screams had turned to sobs. The door was pushed open, and the torches cast flickering light onto the scene inside. Gasps filled the air.
Women covered their mouths. Children clung to their mothers. There on the ground, Nafula and Luvinda lay, naked and locked together in their forbidden act, unable to part. Their bodies trembled, their faces frozen in horror. The oldest elder, Nakumicha, stepped forward. She stared at them for a long moment before speaking. "The ancestors have spoken," she declared. "This is the curse of betrayal. Call her husband. He must see this for himself," she shouts again. Omukama arrived the next morning, summoned from his hunting trip. He looked at his wife, disgust darkening his face. "Nafula, why? You did this to me. Let the curse keep you," he spat. Nasike, Luvinda's wife, stood silently. When asked what she wished done, she simply said, "Let them bear their shame." "Carry them to the village square," the elder shouts. For 3 days and nights, they remained locked together, a spectacle for the village. People came from neighboring lands to witness the punishment of the forbidden lovers. They whispered, they laughed, they pitied. On the 4th day, the spirits released them. Weak, broken, they lay apart, their bodies finally free. But their punishment was not over. Nafula was banished from Emakunda, cast into the wilderness with only the clothes on her back. Luvinda was stripped of his land and forced to live as a servant to his own wife's family. Their lust had burned bright, but now it was nothing but ashes, and in Emakunda, no one ever dared betray the ancestors again.